LG Quantum. So if you've already watched my unboxing video, I'm not going to go through any of the specs for the phone or talk about, the speed of the processor and all that other jazz. Check out my unboxing video for all that information. What I want to talk about is really what it's like to use this phone. So I've been using this phone full time as my one and only cell phone now for a month, maybe even a little bit longer. How has it been? It's been really great. One of the interesting things I've kind of learned, though, is that while I love Windows Phone 7 and I really enjoy using it, this particular phone may not be the best for me, and I will tell you why. So one of the first things that I really like about this phone is the screen. So this is my adorable little son. I guess I should maybe not show you guys what my password is. There we go. That is better. So the screen on this device, the screen is bright, it's vibrant. It's not as bright and vibrant as the Super AMOLED screen that was, say, on the Samsung Focus. However, what I do like about this screen is that whites are white, and things that are supposed to be, kind of straight lines, like this icon here, on the email, those things are actually white lines. If you watch my Samsung Focus video, you notice that that was one of the things I wasn't super fond of, was literally just the fact that that screen, things that were supposed to be white were gray, and things that were supposed to be straight lines, I could actually see like the pixels on it. So anyway, I like the screen. However, I wish it was bigger. So if memory serves, this is a 3.8-inch screen. I'll have to double check that. 3.8-inch screen. I wish it was bigger. I'm coming from using an HTC HD2 that has a 4.3-inch screen, and there are often times I look at the screen and I think, oh, I wish this is bigger. I personally think the screen on like the iPod, like the iPod Touch and the iPhone at 3.5, I think that's way too small. And this is bigger than that, but I do wish it was a little bit bigger. Now, the standout feature for this phone is, of course, the sliding keyboard. So for a lot of people, this would be the reason that they would get this particular phone. For some people, having a slide-out keyboard is incredibly important, and any phone that they get has to have a slide-out keyboard. Do you want to hear something kind of funny? I have literally used this keyboard probably less than 6 times in the month and a bit since I've been using this phone. The on-screen keyboard that Windows Phone 7 has, and I can just fire that up here so I can show you guys. The on-screen keyboard is fantastic. So here it is right here. So the on-screen keyboard, it's not perfect. There are definitely things it could do better. Its autocomplete is frankly a little bit stupid sometimes. I'll type in a word and it'll autocomplete something that is not a word, like not in any dictionary anywhere. So I don't like it. It's not perfect, but overall I find this keyboard really great. And so rather than popping this open and then using this keyboard, I find that most of the time I just use it like this. I just basically type what I need to type in here. So what that means is, if you're someone that absolutely positively needs to have a slide-out keyboard, this is a great phone for you. In fact, it's one of the few phones out of the Windows Phone 7 lineup that actually has a hardware keyboard in it. But if you're not attached to the hardware keyboard, you may be better off with a phone, maybe like the Focus or an HTC model, that actually doesn't have a sliding keyboard. Now, this is no slight against LG. They built what I feel is a very easy to use keyboard. I think the key press is pretty good. The buttons are certainly big enough. Like, these keys are definitely bigger than a lot of other slide out keyboards. However, when you have a slide out keyboard, it ends up making the phone a little bit thicker and a little bit heavier, and that's not something that, like I said, unless you need a keyboard, you maybe don't want to make that kind of compromise. I should point out, kind of the thickness and the weight. Even though this is a little bit thicker than some of the other phones out there that don't have keyboards, I've never really found that this was much of a hindrance. I mean, it slips into my front pocket. It works really nice. I have zero complaints about the size. The weight, I actually don't mind the heft. I think the Samsung Focus was maybe even a little bit too light. I wouldn't mind it if this were maybe a little bit lighter, but I don't really have any complaints. I think LG made a very solid phone here. I will say that after a month of use, I love the fact that it's not all damaged. Because this is a brushed, finish here, I think it hides any tiny, scratches or any tiny marks. Like, I mean, this looks pretty good. It does pick up fingerprints a little bit, but they're pretty hard to see. I really, really like this sort of matte rubber finish because, again, it doesn't pick up fingerprints. It hides damage pretty well. I've unfortunately accidentally dropped this phone a couple of times, and it has survived. Nothing bad has happened to it. So from a sturdiness perspective, I think it's really it's standing up well. I would not advise dropping a phone on purpose, but so far I think it's weathered the storm quite nicely. I really like the fact that it's a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. When I went to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, for the first time in probably 3-4 years, I did not bring my Zune along, my dedicated hardware Zune, like my Zune HD. I only brought this phone, and I brought a pair of my Sony headphones, and I used music that was on the phone. Now, another great thing, in addition to, yes, I do like Glee. Make fun of me if you want, but there's some cool songs on there. One of the things that I really liked about using this phone was the fact that it actually had 16 gigs of storage. So I felt like I could actually fit a lot of stuff on here. So actually, hold on a second. Let me see here. If I go into albums, so we'll kind of just show you roughly how many albums I have on here. So quite a few albums. I actually don't have the count, but let's just say, I don't know, 50, 60, something like that, albums. Now, if I go into here and I check on the settings, I'm pretty sure I have quite a bit of storage space left. Yeah, see, so available storage is 14.94 gigabytes, and I still have 5.83 gigs left. So I have music on here, I have a few videos, and yeah, honestly, it's worked out really, really good. Now, in terms of storage, do I wish it had a micro SD card slot? Well, yeah, actually, I kind of do. I do wish that I could add even more storage in, but after all the problems I had with the Samsung Focus, honestly, I think it's easier for me to live with 16 gigs of storage and just kind of make do rather than going down that whole crazy road with the micro SD card slot. Do I wish that LG had put out a 32 gig model of this phone? Absolutely. I think 32 gig, 16 gig and 32 gig are great size points in terms of storage, and I do wish that they had done that. Now, something else. I'll just show you kind of a quick video here. This is a video of my kid. Here we go. Just turn down the volume a little bit. So the quality of the screen, the quality of video playback is great. Videos look really, really good on here. I don't know if you can see this, but this is basically all, or I don't know if you can see the quality of this rather. This is all 720p and 1080p video that's been scaled down. The Zune software automatically scales down the software. Videos look great on this. I would have no hesitation in terms of watching movies on it. Although, again, if the screen was a bit bigger, it would make maybe a little bit better of a multimedia phone. Let's talk about call quality. I've had no weird signal issues with this. I think call quality is about average, as in I don't think it's spectacular, but I think it's just as good as kind of any other phone in the market. I have no real complaints. I've been using this phone on the Rogers network here in Canada, but of course this is an AT&T phone, so call quality and network quality will of course vary depending on where you are in the world. But I think LG has done a really good job here. One of the things I didn't like quite so much, the Windows button. So on the Samsung Focus, and indeed on the prototype Windows 7 phone I was using for a while, the button was actually up here. So I'm used to having all three buttons in a row, and the fact that LG put the Windows button down here was kind of weird. I wish that maybe they had put it up here, but after like a week or so, I got used to it, so I wouldn't say it's that big of a problem. Performance and stability. I have had absolutely no problem with the performance on this phone. It has been fast, it's been fluid, it's been completely stable. I powered it off once when I was down at CES in Las Vegas. I powered off the phone because I was actually having a hard time getting a Wi-Fi connection. Now, if you've ever been to the Consumer Electronics Show, technology just goes haywire there. So this has nothing to do with LG, but I think it's really important to point out that after a month and a half of use, roughly, this phone, I haven't even powered it off, like not even once. I put it in airplane mode when I'm traveling, turn it back on. It is stable. Microsoft and LG together did a superb job in terms of the stability stability and the speed and the fluidity of the platform. So great job there. So I think that's probably about it in terms of, the hardware. I don't really want to talk about other things about Windows Phone 7 because Windows Phone 7 itself has a few, kind of shortcomings. In fact, I will give you an example of one of these shortcomings. They have this great button up top here, right? This is the camera button. When you press and hold the camera button, the camera turns on, okay? That's great. You can do that even if the camera is locked. That's fantastic. You can take a picture. Okay, cool. Well, guess what? When you're taking pictures, as you can tell, there was no flash on there. All these different settings, for some incredibly painfully unknown reason, the camera app doesn't remember your settings. So if I go in here and I say, okay, I want to turn on, the flash, and then I want to take a picture, with the flash on. If I exit this app, okay, and let's say I turn off my phone, and then let's say I turn on my phone by holding down the camera button because I want to take a picture right away. Well, guess what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a picture, and there's no flash. So, frustrating, irritating. Why on earth would Microsoft and LG do that? Really, it's basically Microsoft. Why would Microsoft do that? I have absolutely no idea. So, that is basically my thoughts on this phone. Since I know someone's going to ask about this, this is called an iZel. It's this little portable stand, and that's all I'm going to say about it. So we'll just kind of put the phone back in there. So, yeah, this has been Jason Dunn from Windows Phone Thoughts. If you're interested in this particular phone, check out the video description. I'll put in a link to AT&T where you can buy it. Do not ask me how much this phone is. Prices change constantly, so go ahead and do your own research in terms of where you can buy it. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. The LG Quantum is a really good phone. It is not ideal maybe for someone that doesn't want a keyboard and wants a bigger screen, but I have no complaints about the phone. It does its job wonderfully. Battery life, I didn't mention battery life. Battery life is probably, I would say it's about 2 to 3 days. If I use the phone pretty heavily, it'll last me a day and a half to 2 days. If I'm not using it very much, just kind of for texting here and there, it might last, 3 to 4 days. So yeah, you're going to want to charge it, but let's face it, a lot of phones nowadays are kind of like that. So I hope you've enjoyed this